Hello.
Hi. Sorry,
Hi, David.
how are you doing?
Good and you?
Good, good, good. I'm just sending Cohen a text quickly.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
So I just want to ask if you, when you're done,
Yeah.
is this for everyone or at once, or are we doing it in our groups?
Now we could do it all at once, so then you can sort of all get an idea of what you're thinking. And then
Okay, great. Then I'll just make sure everyone joins.
okay, cool. Thank you.
David, I thought you said it would be a bit warmer today.
I believe it's slightly warmer, but not but not
It
sufficient.
feels even colder.
Oh yeah, is Cohen? Is that you? I'm just replying to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is maybe, so don't go and look for more information. Maybe see if there's a clue in what you've got, in terms of what's the best sort of solution. And I'm also thinking maybe the shade thing could be a dual purpose. So instead of it being sort of too overly designed, it could be a canopy that both provides shade, but then it's also either it can sort of accommodate vertical growth or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense. If that, what's your main concern at the moment? Do you think you're?
Well, I just remember every time going to that park
Yeah.
and having all those interviews, the biggest thing even we as interviewers were facing was the sun.
Okay.
Not even the sun and the wind. Like just it's kind of uncomfortable to sit in direct sunlight.
Okay.
And
Okay.
to me, that just seemed like the biggest thing that will make someone use a park a bit more is some sort of shade.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's what I was thinking. So another way of looking at it, if I understand you correctly, another way of looking at it is people want to engage in that space, but one of the reasons that's prohibiting that is the fact that the sort of the environment and the weather and all of that, it's not really nice to be there.
Yeah. Well, that's what I gathered from it. And
Okay.
people would rather just sit at their balcony that's got a bit of shade or
Okay.
some sort of protection than sit in a park that has nothing.
Okay. So it's about creating a space for community engagement, but
Yeah,
what
social
you're,
engagement.
yeah, exactly. But and then that's what makes your product interesting, is because it will focus specifically on how do you stimulate that engagement, and that you will get from talking to your communities, which you've got already. So because I'm thinking of, I'm just going to use Andrew's example. For example, if he's found that one way of sort of making the space more interactive is actually to include the children. So potentially the whole focus would be on, okay, how do we make that level of engagement as best as possible? So it might be a 2-meter wall, or it might be a 5-meter wall, but the focus is the wall, and then, or the canvas, or whatever you want to call it, and then you work around that. So you've got this. So it's nice because you know what the size is, you know the frequency, you know the population, like how many people you need to accommodate, and you also know what are some of the things that they might be interested in. So it's just finding a common ground around that. And you're not going to find all the solutions. That's not the point. So it could be your design. I mean, I'm just sort of thinking off the top of my head here. It could be, your solution could be sort of three walls that are put together that you can either articulate or you can move. But it's got functionality in terms of it's either a screen to block out the sun, or it's got little hooks where you can have like plants, like hanging plants as an example.
Yeah.
Or it could be something that you could actually extend a canopy, so if they don't want to have the rain falling on them, then they can. So
yeah, to an extent, okay.
Because also remember,
No.
it's remember at the moment there's absolutely nothing. So even if someone had to come into that space and make and literally clean out all the debris and clean out all the rubbish, and they had to pave it and tile it and make it as slick as possible, that in itself makes it a functional space. You understand what I'm saying?
True.
Don't take for granted the fact that they've got nothing at the moment, but they need something.
And
And
yeah.
David, would that still then be product design there? Because then
Yeah.
it's more like a service if we're revamping the whole place.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, so if you can imagine, say that space, say the city comes to you and say, okay, you can use the space, right? And you know what the space looks like at the moment. And you come in and you say, okay, what we're gonna make is we're gonna create a little, first we're gonna flatten the space. And then all we're gonna do is we're gonna create little tiles that people can then, I don't know, either grow stuff out of. So if you can imagine, you've got an open space that's clean, but people can do stuff in it. So it's not service design. I mean, you decide what the product is going to look like, but immediately from the get-go, you're allowing people to do something in that space that wasn't possible before.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily about, it's literally listening to the people, and then you coming as a product designer and say, okay, now that we've listened to these people, I think there's something we can do. You work with that, and you keep it as contained as possible. Does that help?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, because these things are always incremental. It's little by little by little. It's like, so don't think you're going to solve all the problems, because you still have to come back and do your master's and your doctorate, remember. They keep some work.
Systems are clean.
Okay, cool. Should we start? So who wants to start? So essentially what I want to hear from you is, what are you thinking in terms of your 5K products? My suggestion, like I said last time, if you can focus on sort of, if you can continue with this theme of doing design for good. And the thinking behind this is, I think you've all done a lot of research for your product design already. You also have a unique perspective in the sense that we're all going through this global pandemic thing. So if you can combine those two, I think you could come up with some pretty cool things. And just from my thinking, it would be something along the lines of, what would make your life easier in this time, or what would help you to formulate sort of and things like that. So yeah. So what I would suggest now, who wants to go first? Who wants to
Seems
go?
like Joe wants to go first.
And then at the end of this, I'll ask you if you could then I'll give you sort of a week to do it. You'll sort of present what you're thinking now, and then if you can just write that up as sort of 2 or 3 pages. And a good way of thinking about it is just write it in the format of a story. So you believe this, but then you did some research and you came up with this, and now you're thinking of making this product because it will address this particular problem. Just sort of because it gives me an idea of sort of what you're thinking as going forward, and then I can actually make notes on that document as well, and then we can just sort of run with it. Okay, does that make sense? Everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's Matt.
I mean, you all don't have to talk. I mean, you've got your class rep, so it's up to you whether you want to talk as a group or individually.
Well, I can speak with regards to our group as well if you guys want.
Okay, perfect.
Happy. So basically we started by we wanted to thin it down. We had too many ideas and too many like half-baked things going on. I don't know if you remember the helmet.
Yeah.
We wanted to do the helmet lock. It's a very niche product, and it is quite specific to what certain types of people deal with. It's not necessarily understandable for anybody that, like, at first I was like, what the hell, that makes no sense, I don't know where that fits in. But
Yeah.
after you look at like the community that it caters to, it makes sense. But beyond that, we've taken a kind of a different approach in terms of looking at simplifying everything a lot more to something that's a bit more like relevant right now. So Andrew brought up the idea of using copper, making copper pens. So that helps in terms of copper does not allow most microorganisms to live on it. So that's like viruses, bacteria, anything like that doesn't survive on copper. And from that, we've decided a pen would be a really great way to do it. And then kind of sell like a high quality, almost individually manufactured pen.
Yeah.
That is, you know, virus resistant or virus repelling or whatever. We've done some research in terms of like what you can use for like prefabbed items. So you get like obviously pen making kits, which are extremely cheap. But you can also even use like something from like bulk sale big pens, and you just use the inside of that into like a copper body. So that's where we're at the moment. Don't recall
It's a
what
cool
exactly.
idea.
Yeah. And
I like the antimicrobial side of it.
So there was either that or just go for a high quality pen.
okay.
Wouldn't it make your hands green?
Technically, I think, yeah. So the green is actually from the rust. It's the rust
Yeah,
that rubs off
right.
onto people, yeah. But
But it's
I don't
actually-
know.
You
I
must
don't know
look into the
if anybody will get it. Sorry.
You'll get it if you sweat, but you must check because there's some science behind copper bangles being good for arthritis or joints.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, I also like the using the copper as sort of an anti microbial thing. What I'm thinking, I'm not sure about the pens, but what did pop into my head was yesterday. Cyril announced that they're going to allow restaurants to open, so people can actually go and eat out, sort of sit down meals. Now, I wonder if you
maybe
if you can't pair it with that. So we're
copper cutlery, so you get a green tongue.
Yeah, exactly, something like that. So it's sort of more, because with pens are things some people will like it, some people just can't be bothered. With something like, say, cutlery, for example, I mean, or a plate or whatever that might be, it's universal. You can apply.
I mean, the place where I saw something like this live is like in a bank or like a public place where someone has to use a pen that is used by other people. At least you can trust that thing compared to, you know, the next plastic pen.
Yeah.
I didn't really see it as a personal use thing because like that defies the point anyway. If you're going to be sharing space and people, like touching people, then the pen doesn't make a difference regardless.
Yeah. Because also with the pens, I hear what you're saying, but also how many people will actually go into bank? So
yeah, exactly.
And also maybe the copper is something. Maybe the copper and the hygiene. So what I'm thinking now is maybe the class can contribute. What do you think would be? So I'm thinking I want to go out with my friends, right? So the president just announced, I'm just playing a scenario in my head. So the president just announced that we can go out and sit down and have dinner, right? We all know we go out to have supper, not because we're hungry, but because we want to connect with people, right? So maybe part of that connection is, I'm just spitballing here, you're playing a board game, but there's the potential that it might get infected. Now you come out and you make a copper board game, for example, because if someone touches it, there's less chance of you getting infected because of the copper that you've used. So sort of you're using copper in that regard. I don't know. Do you have any other ideas? I'm talking to the class.
Also, just so copper is not like totally immune to any bacteria. It does go on, and it takes like 4 hours, I think, to remove. Aluminium is around 8 hours, so close behind. Also a much cheaper alternative. I mean, what's got my mind working with what you're saying, David, is so I've been working during lockdown, and we designed something called the Rona Claw, and it's essentially sorry, it's essentially, let me show you. It's a key ring. Don't know if you guys can see this.
Yes.
So that's a key ring that goes in your keys. It's CNC'd out of aluminium, and then you can use that for putting in your PIN code, so you don't have to touch things. You can also open and close doors with it, so you don't have to touch the door handle.
Very cool.
Yeah, but like, there's a niche for these kinds of things.
Exactly.
Doesn't have to be exactly that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just an idea, can work off that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's definitely something there. It's like my only thing now is to want to appeal to as many people as possible. So that's really where my criticism comes from. So I don't necessarily think the pen is the best solution for that. So, but I like the fact that it's sort of contained. It makes sense. So if you explain it to someone, it's
It's very much like a unique selling point, which makes sense with relevant happenings. I mean, with current happenings.
Yeah. Okay. So, any other suggestions, comments? So is this
Come on, guys, do my project for me. Nothing.
You're talking about sanitizing, well, reducing germs and stuff through this pandemic. I thought it would be quite a cool thing if, you get like little vinegar packets. Imagine those were like little sanitizers you just took and you had them in your pockets, and like whenever you needed them, you could just tear open a little packet. But you could also like hand it out to big events and schools and stuff, just to make sure it's not having to use a bottle. But then you also have waste. Yeah, that was just a suggestion.
But maybe you could then take the opportunity to package it in a more environmentally friendly way.
Yeah, they could be.
So let me ask Tristan, what would have made your life easier during lockdown?
What would have made my life easier?
Yeah.
I wish more shops were open. That's all. Like earlier on. No, I don't really know.
Like I'm thinking what...
I can tell you what would make my life easier during
What would make your
lockdown.
life easier, Jody? Tell us.
The process of disinfecting groceries after you come out of the freaking grocery store.
It's a story.
Oh my soul.
That is
It
what-
is such a slip. Like, it's so annoying. I cannot deal. I mean, at the
Fill your
beginning, I
bath.
was more than willing to, like, do the things. And now I'm just like, this is so annoying. Like, there must be a better way.
It's great. It's like you fill your bath with Jik or whatever, and you have a slice of bread one day, and it's like sodden with disinfectant.
It's good for you.
We think we're keeping ourselves safe. We're just killing ourselves with another thing.
Yeah. So I know, like, something that was mentioned in our group was doing some sort of like sanitizing product. I know Yaku mentioned something about the UV light that he saw as well, that is able to expose or show you where bacteria is. I know they used that when they were demonstrating how to keep your hands clean and how to wash them, and they would use the UV light to show you the spots that you maybe missed. So that could be very useful in having something that you can carry around with you. I know one of the things that our group spoke about was that we'd like to have a product that appeals to all people, And so whether it be you make this thing with a fitted UV light that is maybe then branded to so that it appeals to younger people, but so that it can also accommodate older people. Maybe like Chris was saying, Julia's project earlier on, that maybe it's something that considers universal design in that sense. So yeah,
it could be cool in that sense, Jody, for our group, to kind of make use of something that everyone carries around anyway, like a cell phone.
yeah,
So you know how you
exactly.
use your cell phone torch. If you could just
exactly
have an app that could put a widget on your home screen or whatever, you can flick your UV light torch on and off just via your home screen. You check
and like
things
just
every
like
now and
Darren
then.
was saying, you were saying in one of the Zoom calls that we had, like this is going to be our new normal, and so we even if we do not have COVID-19 anymore, people have still become accustomed to the habit of now being more cautious and being more I don't know, disinfecting and sanitizing all the time. We realize now that it is a matter of importance to just it becomes part of your daily routine now. Like how are we not doing these things so regularly before? And so yeah, so I think that is something quite cool to look into. Maybe it's just something that is small that fits into like a bag that you carry around with you, and yeah, I don't know. I think it's a cool opportunity to look.
Yeah.
I think
so
we should take the opportunity to say a few of our other ideas, Yaku.
Yeah.
So the UV thing is more. Okay, do I have volume?
So
sorry, we're sitting next to each other.
Why do you have two laptops?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was thinking that the whole time. Like, I was like, Joe, don't tell me that Yaku sitting right next to you.
Yeah. So the UV thing is more. You can't really see all the bacteria, but you can use it as a sanitizing method. Same as how they sanitize certain medical equipment, steel-based, metal-based medical equipment. They put it in a little radiator almost, and then it just irradiates the things until they're clean. The concept of that was essentially to have a little pod at home where you could put in your keys or whenever you were out and about, and you have things that you just use in the daily that you want to sanitize. But I also thought it could be quite a cool area of exploration for children's and baby, like baby toys and things babies interact with, because they constantly, it goes from the hand to the mouth, whatever it is. And just if you could keep those things quite clean also. Yeah, that's more the sanitized side of things, or the UV,
I like
UV side of things. Yeah, because the thing
yeah,
with
so
UV
I think
is
in that
it needs to be for quite a while. It's not a quick process. It's about like between 10 and 30 minutes, depending on the strength of the actual UV.
also hydrogen peroxide and ozone, other things they use for like those. So when they disinfect masses of medical equipment in hospitals, so they can reuse like face masks and stuff. I was involved briefly with the design team based at the Maker Station. We were designing face shields for the Red Cross Children's Hospital. And we got a few like really useful PDFs and like lists of requirements from the actual doctors themselves, which is amazing. And like, if you're disinfecting a piece of PPE on a daily basis with hydrogen peroxide, I've got tables and tables of like different germs that it kills over different periods of time, and like your thing has to be strong enough to withstand a bit of heat, a bit of submersion in liquids. It's crazy, like the forward thinking you actually have to go through if you're designing PPE and disinfecting stuff. But it's definitely cool, and I think a lot of people are going to need to make use of it at some point.
One thing that I kind of thought of, it's not as in-depth and high-tech stuff we're discussing now, but if, for example, I mean, I experience this myself. I have a bottle of disinfectant or a sanitizer in my car when I go somewhere. So every time I go into a shop, even when entering, obviously the sanitizers at the door, but every time I get in my car, I sanitize my hands again. But in between that, you still touch your keys on the outside of your door handle, and you put the key in the ignition, and you touch your steering wheel. Then you only get to disinfecting your hands, and then you touch everything you already touched again.
Yeah.
So it kind of doesn't really work. So I thought it would be cool. I mean, you get those little sanitizer bottles, but imagine having something that clips onto your belt that's small or flat, so it's not in the way, but then you can just press it with your hand, and then the only thing that you touch is the top of that. So it makes sanitizing a lot easier, and like you literally just reach down by your side and quickly sanitize your hand. It makes it a lot easier to do it effectively and regularly.
Well, if you miss, you get sanitizer all over your crotch, and then what?
You can have like a
Sounds like something I would
sprinkler
do.
system around your head that shoots around everything around you the whole time.
So you call
So
it the
everything you
halo.
touch is already clean.
I was thinking that they should do that to get rid of all of the germs that people cough and stuff. They should have like jets blowing air away. So every time people like then it just disperses. You know, you counted it. Just blow it away.
Everyone.
Yeah, like these helmets with lots of like jets, and it just blows in every direction. So it's like super fast.
So
High
can I just
speed.
ask you, did you manage to do any surveys on Facebook? Did you get any results from people or comments or insights?
Who?
Sort of potential markets. Did you manage to do any sort of market research? No.
I haven't tried. I don't know about anyone else.
Okay. Just coming back to.
I think it's like.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Maybe we need to be more specific in terms of what we want to be asking about.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, for. Well, let me just go back to Tristan. Is there anything else you want to ask, Tristan? Or
No, not really. No.
Okay.
I think we're all. I think for now we kind of see what our unique selling point is. I think regardless of what you make, if you sell it to the right people, you'll sell it.
Exactly.
At the moment, the goal is to kind of like find the biggest range of people, almost the biggest like collection, and I think once we know what that is or what we want to make, we can find the groups of people we want to do the specific research on.
Yeah.
Rather than doing like a broad sort of like search through Facebook for someone to tell me about something that they want. I'd rather thin it down first.
Okay.
But yeah, other than that, I think I'm all set.
Okay. Then, I mean, we can move to the next group now. But like I said, just think of, in terms of themes, think in terms of what would make your life easier. Remember, people are still stuck inside. So what sort of ritual can they do to sort of ease with their mental health and things like that? Because, I mean, it's a thing. People are stuck inside, they're getting frustrated, they're getting annoyed. So think along those lines. Okay.
So just to give like a overall view on what we've been thinking in our group.
Okay, cool.
Just gonna quickly read off the WhatsApp. You guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so yeah, sanitizing, home grow kit for like microherbs. Yaku is saying like mini lathes, like tools for home. Keychain. Jody was saying UV sanitizing device, plant grower. Judy was saying, yeah, sanitizing, plant growing, and then back to the gin distillery, making your own alcohol. With our beer mug idea, I think the lockdown and this virus has put a bit of spanner in the works there because there's not much social drinking going on. But what I was considering is I did my emerging tech presentation. I looked at rituals, virtual rituals like making coffee, sharing a coffee together. If you could have a device like a coffee cup, say, or a beer cup, say it's still a beer mug, and when you cheers your mate over Zoom, it vibrates very quickly, so it feels like your glasses are clinking, or something like that. Like involved or get technology to kind of step in to those physical parameters that can't be fulfilled by actual humans. It's a bit sad, but like,
what's
a possibility.
I mean, within the group, what's the sort of the two main ideas that you feel the strongest towards? I mean, personally, I think sort of the grow kits, because you've done research on that. Also,
well, when we also said what interested us, the grow kits came up in all of our messages. So, yeah, speaking for the group, yeah, I think that was the common ground. Also, because we've got research on it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the same as product design, but we can use research, tailor it to maybe a slightly different target market, and have a completely different product actually, but work off what we've got so we can save a bit of time.
Yeah. I mean, I think that could be quite, you've got a lot of flexibility in there as well. I mean, it could be a grow kit that's specific to a particular plant, for example, or, it could be something that you could sort of hang on your balcony. So it depends. Depending on the context, there's a lot of scope in there as well.
I also don't want to make an assumption as to what our group has chosen because we haven't finalized anything yet. So
Okay, so
next week we will have finalized.
Yeah. So I would suggest maybe before we meet next week again, just try and finalize sort of an idea that you're thinking. So for instance, your group would be sort of looking at growing stuff. Tristan was sort of looking at hygiene and how do you sort of either assist with that or ease that or put people's minds at ease. Okay, how does that sound? Cool. Next group. Still got one group.
Yeah, that's us. We've had a talk, I think it was at the beginning of this week. Yeah, I think it was Monday night. We just discussed and we haven't really come up with any new ideas as we're still all exploring, but we're trying to think of how to, well, obviously of what you've said, how do we kind of stay connected and positive and keep ourselves busy at home? There were just like a few, I wouldn't say silly ideas, but just random ideas that came out.
Bless you.
Mark knows a bit more than me.
Okay.
And but yeah, we were thinking about if you could buy like a pack of cup phones, and then you obviously buy a pack of 4 or 3, and you can send that off to your friends to say like you pay 50 Rand for a cup, you get a cup, your friend gets a cup, and let's say your grand gets a cup. And it's all got a string attached, but how it works is you can send a message in that can only record, let's say, for 10 seconds. And then the person on the other side or in their house can lift up this cup and just listen to it. And only that recording will play once or twice.
Okay.
So it's like kind of like a cool little daily note you can say to this person. I don't know, maybe share a random fact, share a song that you like.
Okay.
Just like a weird way of interacting with people.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm just thinking, how do we contain that? Or how do you, because you're going to have to package it somehow. So it doesn't sound like an app. That's what I mean.
Yeah, but it's not an app. Meant to, yeah.
So that's more.
That was just one of the.
So that's more of connecting with people, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's also in a local. Yeah. It's like a more local context as well. I mean, if let's say you have it somewhere physical in the house, it's something that you can walk past and kind of get some info from now and then, and it's not really like it's like you can decide when you want to, like, I don't know, it's very difficult. I can't actually hear you guys. Wait, have you switched Joe's volume on? Joe, how do I switch volume on? There you go. Okay, cool. That was very disconcerting. Yeah, so it's kind of, it's nice because you can kind of decide when you want to find out what other people have to say, but it could be completely non-important information, but kind of just entertain you for the next like 5 seconds that you listen to what they have to say. But I think it could be interesting because it's like a place to leave jokes and to kind of brighten your day a little bit, and it doesn't have to be serious, which is nice. It's not like communication in this sense, anyway. It's I think a little bit more interesting, and it doesn't have to be online.
Yeah.
It can be,
I mean, I am concerned in terms of the amount of tech that probably have to put in there. And then at the same time, what I'm thinking is, I like the fact that you're talking about sort of communicating, and there's sort of an element of care and connection. What if you had to internalize that? What if can't you bring that on the inside? So I don't know, how do you create a space on the inside of your house that would talk towards those things?
I like the idea of like almost taking the Zoom meetingness out of it. This format is very much associated with work, or like thing, like, you know, you're sitting down, you're doing something very specific. Whereas when you're having a conversation with someone, it's not just, you're not sitting down facing them and chatting about something. It's like a natural happening. Yeah. And I think the idea if we kind of pick up something throughout your day and chat to someone is quite cool in that sense. It's just, I think when it comes to making something like that, it's quite long.
Yeah. Like another way of looking at it is, I mean, you all have
also 10 minutes left on the wall.
But also, you all have friends that you still want to communicate with or want to get in touch with, but you can't because of this physical distancing. So what if you had this? I'm just thinking, what if you had something like a booth inside your house, and then when your friend wants to chat,
is the time for this meeting being extended because it's going to end
in 1 minute 30?
Okay.
Speak quickly.
Okay. But yeah, okay. So, I mean, yeah, I think it sounds a bit too complicated. So I think you have to sort of hone it down more. My concern is, remember, you don't have, you can't necessarily go to programmers and all of that and ask them to help you. So all of your expertise needs to be in-house, or you need to have an idea of how it's going to work.
Mark's the IT guy.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I would suggest, what we can do, I mean, we can end this meeting now, but then maybe just going, because I'm going to ask you next week just to write this out for me, your two main ideas, and just flesh it out. And then especially with your group, Cohen, maybe just if ideas come up, just text it to me, then we can just have a dialogue like that and just try and hone it. Because I think the other two groups have got something that they can latch onto. I mean, we'll chat with them. And obviously that applies to the rest of you. If you need to just pick my brain around something, just send me a text. That's why we created the groups. But yeah, I want you to sort of get to a point where you can have an idea that you think is going to work. So just go back and forth. If something pops, just send a text and we can comment and then flesh it out like that.
Yeah. Mark,
say something.
I'll call you afterwards.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Let's have a chat.
Cool.
With Angelo and Nota as well.
Yeah, I see not here. He's